Hi, my name is Sarah Hancock with Serendipity Health and Serendipity Keto. I'm a busy wife, mom, and pediatric occupational therapist passionate about helping people get healthy with keto and low-carb living. Subscribe to my channel for healthy keto recipes and tips.
Hey, it's Sarah Hancock with Serendipity Keto, and I today wanted to talk to you about carbohydrates. So one of the big factors when you're starting a keto diet or looking at ketogenic or low-carb eating is tracking your carbohydrates. So that's one of the first things you're gonna have to get comfortable with is reading the nutrition labels on the foods that you're eating. For carbohydrates, there are a couple ways to do it. Some people track the total carbs that they eat in a day, and some people track the net carbs that they eat in a day. So we're going to talk about what the difference is in that and how you track them.
I track my net carbs. That's how I do it.
So do I.
That's the easiest way to do it. If you try to track your complete carbs, it gets a little complicated. So especially when you're first starting out, if you just track your net carbs, you'll be more successful and it's easier.
So to get your net carbs, you're gonna look at the label on your food here. I don't know if I can get close enough that you can read this. So you're gonna look at this. It's gonna tell you 170 calories. Okay, if you haven't tried these are like my favorite keto snack. These are excellent nuts, which are good for the keto program, but you have to be careful with these guys because they're really good and one serving is 24 nuts. So I like to measure these bad boys out so that I don't eat too many at one time. But on here, you're gonna scroll down on the label and it's going to say 5 total carbohydrates. So if you're tracking total carbs, you'd be looking at that number. But then down below it, you're gonna see where it says dietary fiber. And down here, you'll see added sugars and that type of stuff. But to get the net carbs, you're gonna take this total carbs and subtract the fiber. Now there are some foods that also have sugar alcohols in them, and if you're doing net carbs, you can subtract fiber and the sugar alcohols. But that's kind of a subject where there's some disagreement. Your best rule of thumb is to try to not eat foods that have a lot of processed ingredients or sugar alcohols in them.
Wait, don't stop it. I'm just telling my wife to slow down. She's speed talking again. You may continue.
Okay, all right, sorry. All right, so we're talking about net carbs. On this particular one, there's 5 total grams of carbs and 3 grams of fiber. So we're gonna take the 5 minus the 3, and it's gonna give you 2 net carbs per serving of these nuts. So when you're looking at carbs, you wanna figure that in there. Some tracking apps that you use, like Carb Manager, will do that calculation for you and give you your net carbs. I personally use MyFitnessPal to track my macros, and it does not figure net carbs for you. So I have to go in there manually and look at the table and subtract the carbs and the net carbs. But once you start doing it, it really gets a lot easier. You just have to kind of get familiar with nutrition labels and how to read them and make sure that your carbs are staying within your daily allowable ration for what you have to meet your keto goals.
Quick tip too, a lot of times manufacturers will put on the front of their packaging, X amount of carbs as a marketing tool. Make sure that you're checking your servings because a lot of times it'll say, hey, buy this product and it's 1 or 2 carbs. But then you realize that's actually not correct when you look at the serving sizes because it could be for half a serving or a quarter serving. So make sure that you're careful of that as a marketing strategy that people are doing to sell more ketogenic foods. So just a tip.
And this is an example. These Quest bars are, they're kind of like the Atkins or semi-keto friendly. Best bet you don't want a lot of processed food, but if you have to grab something quick, this is something you can eat that'll stay within your macros. But if you look at the label on this one, this has the sugar alcohols in it. So this one has 23 grams of total carbs, but it has 16 grams of fiber and 2 grams of erythritol, which is the sugar alcohol. So you get to subtract the 16 grams of fiber and the 2 grams of erythritol. Now, some people when eating these type of foods will still have trouble getting into nutritional ketosis. So kind of like Roland was just saying, you have to be careful with manufacturing and marketing. The whole food industry, knows now that people are looking for low carbs and they're looking to limit the added sugars. So the labels a lot of times can be misleading. So you want to take a lot of time to be careful and make sure you're checking the serving size, checking the added ingredients, and checking the carbs to make sure they're going to fit within your keto macros.